Welcome to EraTech.
Over the past month, a devastating war between Israel and Palestine has shaken the world. Over 10,000 lives have been lost in a conflict that seems unending. But amidst this heartbreaking tragedy, some entities are profiting immensely. American weapons manufacturers. Their profits have skyrocketed, with company stocks surging by a staggering $30 billion since the war began. Take, for example, Raytheon and General Dynamics, two of the largest defense contractors in the United States. Shockingly, they have openly celebrated the financial advantages of this war to their investors. Other companies like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman have also seen massive gains over the years. Lockheed Martin, the maker of the F-35 Lightning II fighter jets and Black Hawk helicopters, supplies Israel directly. Northrop Grumman provides submarines and combat vehicles. Just this July, Israel signed a $3 billion deal to purchase more F-35 fighter jets. You may wonder, how does Israel afford such a colossal military budget? Is it funded solely by its taxpayers? Not exactly. Back in 2016, during President Obama's tenure, the U.S. struck a deal to provide $38 billion worth of military aid to Israel over 10 years. Under this agreement, the U.S. sends $3.8 billion annually in military equipment to Israel. Consequently, 92% of Israel's imported weapons now come from one country, the United States of America. But why does this matter? Isn't it normal for allies to support one another? The catch lies in the motive behind the weapons trade. The arms industry doesn't care about alliances, peace, or justice. Its sole purpose is to maximize profits, no matter the cost. Earlier this year, the U.S. State Department announced a record-breaking $205 billion in global arms sales, marking a 49% increase from the previous year. These weapons weren't just sold to Israel. They were distributed to 58 countries, including Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and others. Does this flood of weapons make the world safer? Or does it make it more dangerous? It's not just the U.S. setting records. Last year, Israel's weapons sales surpassed $12 billion, with 24% of those exports going to Arab nations. Surprisingly, despite its small size, Israel ranks as the 10th largest arms exporter globally. The top spots are dominated by the United States, Russia, France, and China, countries that also hold permanent seats on the United Nations Security Council. Here's a chilling fact. These 5 nations account for over 75% of global arms exports. They sit at the helm of the organization tasked with maintaining global peace, yet they fuel the very conflicts they claim to want to end. In May, Oxfam International criticized the hypocrisy of this system, calling it immoral and complicit. After all, how can the UN adopt meaningful resolutions to curb arms exports when its most powerful members profit from them? But the problem doesn't end here. Arms manufacturers often bypass ethical lines entirely. Take Russia, for example. While it's considered a close ally of India, it's also among the top arms suppliers to Pakistan. Similarly, countries like China, South Korea, and even America dominate the list of the largest arms importers and exporters. It's a global chessboard where weapons are traded without regard to alliances or policies. While world leaders talk about peace, they quietly endorse deals that fuel wars. And in these conflicts, it's not politicians or businessmen who suffer. It's the common people. Take the Wagner Group, a private mercenary army funded by the Russian government. Originally created to reduce official military casualties, this group extended its operations to countries like Sudan, Libya, and Mali, often committing atrocities in exchange for lucrative mining contracts. But Russia isn't alone. The U.S. has Blackwater, a private military company notorious for its role in the 2007 massacre of 17 Iraqi civilians. Despite widespread condemnation, its founder, Eric Prince, continues to profit from wars and political donations. Even Israel plays its part in this privatized warfare, with companies like the NSO Group, known for selling the infamous Pegasus spyware. These tools have been used globally for surveillance, blackmail, and worse. It's a deeply interconnected web of profiteering. Politicians with stakes in defense companies shape policies that perpetuate war. They benefit twice, once through stock profits, and again through campaign contributions from these corporations. And while these wars rage abroad, the consequences hit home too. In the US, mass shootings have become alarmingly common, with 500 incidents reported this year alone. Politicians shed tears on camera, but refuse to regulate gun sales because the arms industry funds their campaigns. Contrast this with countries like Australia, where decisive action following a mass shooting led to a near-total ban on firearms. Over 650,000 guns were confiscated, and mass shootings became almost non-existent. Yet in America, gun sales continue to skyrocket. Why? Because for arms manufacturers, peace is bad for business. In the end, the question isn't just about who profits from war, it's about why we allow it to happen. The reality is stark. As long as the arms industry thrives, conflicts will persist. But remember, this isn't about blaming nations or their people. Most citizens, whether American, Russian, or Israeli, don't benefit from these profits. It's a handful of private companies and complicit politicians who thrive on human suffering. So, the next time you hear about a conflict, ask yourself, who really benefits? If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And check out our deep dive into World War I, where ordinary lives were sacrificed to protect the interests of the elite.